You begin at 9, and you go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. You connect the dot. One thing I want to bring up to your attention, notice how I make my lines nice and long? You always want the lines to be nice and long. Next, if you got a 40, you did that one right. If you got an 80, you also did this one right. If you got a 40, you did this one wrong. Now, the first thing is it's supposed to say y equals. It does not say y equals. So you need to divide, here's a key word, ready? Everything, what did I just say? Everything by 2. So that leaves me 2 divided by 2 is 1, so I get y equals, or 1y equals. 3 over 2 is 3 over 2. Leave it. Can we not put paper on our mouse? Yeah, no, you did do it. No, you had the paper out your mouth and you took it out. Why do you think he even looked up and said, Joe?
No, you just paper in his mouth.
Well, that might be true, but enough. 3 over 2 is the slope. And then the y-intercept is going to be 4 divided by 2 is 2. So look on your paper. If you got this line right, your y-intercept has to be 2. And then the slope is up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2. Then we draw this line. Notice again, I make the line extended, nice and long. Then I mark the point of intersection, the common solution, the point where they meet. 2 comma 5. And if you got an 80, you stop there. But if you look at the directions, what are the last 2 words? And check. So I got to come over here and write my check. I write the first equation. I plug in. Remember, any point is always x, y. So the x is 2, the y is 5. So instead of y, I put 5. Instead of x, I put 2. 5 equals negative 2 times 2 plus 9. Negative 4 plus 9, 5 is 5. Check. Then I write my second equation, the original second equation. 2y equals 3x plus 4. 2 times 5 equals 3 times 2 plus 4. Because remember, y is 5, x is 2. 6 and 4 is 10, 10 is 10, check. Okay? Any questions? Any questions at all?
Oh, I think you checked it.
There you go. So it's very important that you be able to not only graph, this quiz tests 2 levels. The first level it tests is, do you know how to graph a fundamental equation in the form of y equals mx plus b? Most of you, just about everybody knows how to do that. Not everyone, but 3/4 of you are very good at that. Then, do you know how to graph if it's not in y equals form? In other words, do you know how to get it into y equals form? And then, the last 20 points was how to check. And I thought a lot of people would mess up the check because we've done some of them, but we haven't really made it super important to you yet. Now it's super important because of the quiz. Any questions?
No.
Okay. You should label this point on a lot of people's papers. I saw the point here, but you didn't label 2 comma 5. You should label that point every single time. All right, so today, in my opinion, is a very important day. The reason I want to say it's a very important day is because 2 days ago, you had one of your worst days of the year. Michael, can you pay attention? 2 days ago, you were just very out of it. You weren't working hard. And we needed to take time to remind you of why it's so important to work hard. Yesterday was a pretty good day, but because we were a little behind because of the day before, we didn't quite get through yesterday perfectly. This is the last day that we're going to spend on the elimination method only. Now, we'll do more of them on homeworks and more of them on quizzes, but for now, this is the last day that we're going to do anything, the elimination method, only, nothing but elimination. We started the other day when you guys were being so bad by talking about how consequences follow decisions. How you can't make one decision at a time, and every place you are in your life is a consequence or a result of the decisions that you've made. We are in a position where we need to be extra good today because of being extra bad the first day. And it's our last chance to be extra good. So if you're going to let your mind wander and doodle, if you're going to put your head down on the desk, whatever it is that you're in the mood to do other than this, realize at the same time you're making the decision to not know this as well as you should. And after today, this is not going to be by itself anymore. We're going to be mixing this with other stuff. And that's going to make it harder on you. So hopefully you really find a way to focus and do a great job today. I hope you do. Because if you do that, I think we can do some making up for what went on Wednesday. All right, so you're asked to graph this system of equations simultaneously. And in so doing, graphing this system of equations simultaneously, one of the things I noticed right away is that the x's are lined up with, not graphing, I'm sorry, solving. The x's are lined up with the x's, the y's with the y's. I love the fact that one of the y's is a negative and one is a positive. That makes life a little bit easier on me. Then the equals are lined up, and so too are the numbers. So all of those things are very, very, very good signs. They're excellent signs. However, we have a problem. Josh.
The Y's aren't the same.
Right, we don't have the same amount of y's. So I have to make them the same amount of y's. Now, in order to do that, I have to remember one of the fundamental things about equations. Equations are like a scale. Michael, head in the game, pay attention to what we're doing now. An equation is like a scale. As long as you do the same thing to both sides of a scale, everything on the scale stays balanced. Balance is good. Balance is a picture of equilibrium, which means that we're doing things right. But if I don't do it to everything, then the scale gets tilted out of whack. And if the scale gets tilted, that's a picture of bad. So, let's take a look here. What do you think you could multiply the top one by to make the y's match up? Davis? What?
3.
3. If I multiply by 3, I'm going to get negative 6y. It wouldn't match up then.
think so.
Alex?
Positive 2.
Positive 2. I'm going to actually do this question two ways, because I think right now, judging by the hands that went up, there were about a third of the class's hands went up. And that means to me, because they went up with confidence, that you guys saw right away that it was 2. And the reason that they knew that it was 2 was they said, well, 2 times 2 gives me 4. So they've got it paired up. I'm going to solve this out to the point where I get x. And then I'm going to stop. And then I'm going to go back and do it slightly different. So if I distribute the 2, I get 10x minus 4y equals 58. The bottom one I don't need to do anything to. And I have that done. Die with the 4 y's, negative and positive. 13x is equal to, let's see here.
69.
It is 59.
No, 60.
Oh, this should be 69,
69.
yeah. The problem is 13 doesn't go into 69 evenly.
Does it?
No, it definitely doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
That's ugly. Divide by 13, divide by 13, and I get 69 over 3. I'm going to stop there. Okay? Now, I want to go on to the next page, or I should say to do it another way. I'll show you.
What does it?
Now, I want to do the same thing again slightly differently. For every person in the room who realized that the 2's match up, the 2 times 2 being 4, excellent. What if you're someone who doesn't do that, or maybe you recognized it this time with the 2's and the 4's, but you don't always recognize it, and sometimes it gives you a hard time. I want to show you something you can always do. And you can't, it's not often that we get something we can always do, so if it's an always thing, Michelle, it's a really good thing, okay? What I can always do, I love to find when signs are different. I can always multiply the top one, now I'm doing the y's, by whatever the number is here, namely 4. And then I can do the bottom one by whatever the top number is, namely 2. That will always work. Watch what happens. I'm going to distribute on the top, I'm going to distribute on the bottom, and I get 20x minus 8y equals 126, and 6x plus 8y equals 22. And look, aren't they matched up again?
Yeah.
So that technique will always work for you. Die. 26x equals 148, and then it works out the same as the other one does, so don't worry about it. it's there. I want to give you a very quick one to do. That's a little more fundamental from the other day. You do this one, ready?
Okay.
Solve that one for X and Y.
We are winning the back.
What's that?
On the back.
Anywhere you can fit it in. This is a little more of what I would call a medium difficulty level. Ava, let's start writing. Well, start writing. We're doing the green one. Get going. The only way to get unconfused is to start writing. If you wait for clarity, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah. Preach.
Question? Give me a minute. I want to make sure we're caught up on this, okay? You got about, Ava, come on, start writing. Let's go. We got maybe about 30 seconds until we're done with this. Okay, so I noticed right away that my y's line up and there's the same amount of them. So I could just start adding them up. What's 2x's plus 1x? 3x. I die. Equals 12 plus 3 is 15. Divide by 3. X is 5. Am I done?
No.
No, I have to go back and get y. I'll do that over on the left here. I'll use the top equation. 2x plus y equals 12. Y is 5, so 2 times 5 plus y is 12. 10 plus y is 12. Minus 10, minus 10, y is 2. So x is 5 and y is 2. Davis,
Didn't you have to multiply to be like the same equation also?
only when they don't match up already.
Oh.
If they do match up, you don't need to do anything. And I gotta be honest with you, Davis, I think that almost always on the state test and on your final, they're going to match up. I think. I'm not sure about that. I'll know for sure when I try to look in my notes a little bit later on after this. But either way, for next year, you gotta know how to do them like this, where the numbers don't match up. The first day, we did them where they matched up, but unfortunately, you guys were not at your best the first day. And because of that, we've been a little bit behind the 8 ball every single day. And then yesterday we tried to catch up, and today we're trying to catch up. But that's why I took a second to go back over this new one in green, so that you would see how they typically ask them here. They typically ask them where either the X or the Y matches up. Okay. You try this one. Go ahead. Which letter would you like to get rid of, the X or the Y?
Why?
Y, see, I think so too, because the signs are opposite. Now, I just want to emphasize that you can always get rid of either variable. You can always, if you want to get rid of the X's, get rid of the X's. If you want to get rid of the Y's, get rid of the Y's. However, I like to choose the one to get rid of where the signs are already opposite. That means I don't have to multiply by negatives. And if I don't have to multiply by negatives, that's a very good thing. Okay, so with that in mind, if I want to get rid of this, you might have recognized that 2 and 3 both divide into 6.
Yep.
But if not, we can always do what I just told you about a little while ago. Namely, multiply the top, oh, sorry, 2.
Isn't it two?
Multiply the top one by what the bottom says, and the bottom one by what the top says. And then I'm going to distribute to all 3 terms. So that gives me 12x, I'm sorry, that's a 2, so 8x
Yeah.
plus 6y equals -2. What I'm struggling with there is that's a 2. And then 9x minus 6y equals 24. And this is always going, 36. Now, this is always going to be a beautiful thing when I get the positive 6y and the negative 6y on top of each other, because that means they're going to cancel out when I get them up. They go die-die. 9x and 8x is 17x, equals -2 and 36 is 34. Divide by 17, x is 2. And again, I've emphasized this at least 4 or 5 times over the last 2 days. One of the common mistakes I see kids make very frequently, surprisingly frequently, Davis, is they stop here. And you don't want to stop right here, because what happens is you've only found one of the 2 letters. You need to go back and get y. You can use either equation to do that, but I'm going to choose the top one, again, because I don't have to deal with the negative y's. So 4 times 2, all I do is take the x and plug it in. X was 2, so I plugged it in. Plus 3y equals -1. 8 plus 3y is -1. Minus the 8 from both sides, die. 3y is -9. Divide by 3. Y is -3. So x works out to be 2, and y works out to be -3. Questions?
That makes more sense.
How would I do a check? Jonathan, how would I do the check, buddy? Right? How do I check? Someone needs to remind me how to check, because we had to do that on today's quiz, and everybody who got an 80 got an 80 because they didn't check, and I want to make sure we know how to check. Manny?
The answers that you got, like x equals 2 and y equals -3, you just place them on the regular equation.
Yeah, the original equation. So let's rewrite those original equations. 4x plus 3y is -1, and the other one is 3x minus 2y is 12. So now I'm going to plug in x and y. So 4 times 2 plus 3 times -3 is -1. What's 4 times 2?
8.
8. What's 3 times -3?
-9.
And 8 minus 9 is -1, so -1 is -1, check. Over here, 3 times 2 minus 2 times -3 equals 12. What's 3 times 2?
6.
What's -2 times -3? 6. So 6 plus 6 is 12, yes it is. 12 equals 12, check. So again, the numbers have to line up. If you can't always figure out what they are, just look here. This was 3, so that's 3. This was 2, so that's 2. Always try to choose where the signs are opposite. If not, one of these has to be a negative. I don't care which one, but one of them has to be. And then we line them up. We call it elimination, and we get rid of one of them. On Monday, we start with substitution as a second technique. Monday and Tuesday, we're going to talk about substitution. Wednesday, Thursday, pre-test. Test Friday next week. Okay? And I am almost done with your test. You'll certainly have them Monday. I only have about somewhere between 5 and 10 papers to go. seats, we got a minute and a half till the bell rings. Let's go, back.
Oh, well.
Alex, when you walk out, can you please walk out to the front door and put that calculator in that basement calculator around there?
Oh,
2 seats, let's go, butts in chairs. What? Well, I'm not gonna tell people what they got yet. When I get them all done, otherwise it's not fair to people. Ladies, sit down. Thank you. Rachel, can I have that stack of dittos you just handed in? They got a yellow sheet on the top of it. Thank you very much. Got 40 on the quiz, right?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Yellow.
You still English? Do I get my phone next period?
At the end of 8th.
Do I know you? No. I don't need a card.
You're like screwing it, unscrewing it, screwing it. I was like, what the hell?
the heck?
How did she do it?
Michael, there is no way in the world I'm pushing you back here to the carriage. What? No, that's been his seat, you're not back. That was just to do for yesterday. You can come in every day, take that desk, slide it over behind Lizbeth, and stay there. Okay. Now, need a volunteer. Tori, brand new quiz. Okay, can we settle down and get started, please? Yes. I don't have one.
Can I borrow one? Thank you.
Can we stop? Hey, don't talk, so right on you do it. Boys, stop the talking. Have you yet? Go ahead. Okay. Who's still working on the quiz? Okay, girls, James. Jared, do not talk. Now, don't make noise. People are still working on the quiz. Zach, let's face forward. Jared, what's the matter, Jared? Okay, get your work done. That, there is no reason on God's green earth to turn around. far side of the room, I need 2 people. Let's go Lizbeth and Kimberly. There you go. Hey. Come sit over here. Okay, let's take a look at the answers to your quiz. Now, there were, I think, maybe a third person who got zeros. And then there were a handful of people who got 40, a lot of people got 80. And I don't know if anybody got 100. In the last class, there were 2 people who got 100. And what really seemed to be tripping people up was the check. So let's go through this each step of the way.